Welcome to PodFic Galore. I'm your horrible online reader, Goldscythe. I read out loud fanfictions for you busy bees, free of charge and no strings attached. Today I will continue reading the Silmarillion / Lord of the Rings fic from Archive of Our Own by myself, called The Wraith of Himring. I hope you can at least try to enjoy my voice, and I will try my best for you with the equipment available to me. On with the show. The Wraith of Himring by Goldscythe. Chapter 3. Music from the Deepest Forest. Maklar continued living with Linwen, as he called her. They kept calling him either Gano or something else in their tongue. He still didn't grasp the language. It seemed to flow so differently to his native Quenya, or even Sindarin. There wasn't a day he didn't miss the linguistic talents of Maedhros and Karanthir, who picked up language seemingly left and right. It wasn't until their feast under the lights of stars, as spring had broken, that something in the language clicked for him. It was the singing. He knew the tune, and was sure he remembered the verses in Quenya. It was something Grandfather Finwë used to hum and sometimes sing. Linwen was the only one to notice him slipping away and got to follow him. She looked surprised to see him looking for parchment, pen, and inkwell almost frantically. "I need to write, Linwen. Write! I know your song," he rasped, motioning writing with his hand. She was wide-eyed but nodded, smiling, taking the writing implements from where they were, not too far from where he was looking for. He sat down by the lamplight, a flickering oil lamp, and he found himself missing the Fëanorian lamps his father used to craft. By the time he was done, his hands were ink-stained, but he was done. He had the key. He had the key to understand them. She sat near, letting him write in peace, but had brought in more light, just in case. He took her hand in his and, ignoring the ink stains, showing the parchment. This is what your people were singing. Out there. The song. She cocked her head and looked at the flowing script. She frowned, and he found himself doubting suddenly. Did the community know how to read and write? They should. They had writing implements. Unless they were only for drawings, traded for furs or something. He had seen a few sketches here and there in her hut. Risking it, he began to hum along, running his finger along the lines, where he knew he was in the song, and she too began to hum it, her face brightening. She knew. Their language barrier was about to shatter. He offered her the quill, but she shook her head. "You don't know how to write." "Sing it to me." Quietly, he began to sing the words, but in his torn throat, his voice was almost as mangled as that of his brother, who had screamed himself permanently hoarse in Angband. She picked up the song in her tongue as he moved his finger to point back at the beginning of the old hymn. He sat back down to write it down as he heard it, motioning her to repeat the more complex words. They worked through the night, until dawn rose, sitting side by side. He could feel her excitement. Something in his heart eased. "Ghana?" Linwen asked, as he was struggling to help her reap the summer crops. "I have wanted to ask, who or what is Nelio?" The sickle nearly slipped from his grasp. The nightmare still occurred during thunderstorms. He closed his eyes and bowed his head. "Nelio was the only family I had left." "When you tried to leave?" "I tried to return. I left." He struggled to speak more, but he didn't know what to say. Linwen came to him, taking his sickle from him, setting it aside and kneeling on the stalks he had reaped. "It is too painful for you. If you wanted to return, I could have come with you." "This is your place. You don't belong in the world I lived in." She frowned, holding his hands in hers. Still, despite her diligently massaging them often, he was never able to straighten them fully again. He looked up from their joined hands, up her lap, and over the bosom up to her face. Her ashen blonde hair was swept back with a scarf, and she was slightly tanned from working outside. She had an air of the Edain about her, in her garments, her simple lifestyle, and the way she was willing to give her heart. Maybe now he was beginning to understand Karanthir a little. "You saved me, and I saved you. I care for you. Your eyes, they are different, and your hair is like midnight. I wished for a husband from Elbereth. I wished for a husband with stars in his eyes. I wish I could carry a child for that husband. I would be yours, if you'd have me. Michael tried to look away, but he couldn't. I don't deserve to be happy. I've done horrible things. Horrible enough for the Eleth I loved to forsake me. We were to be wed. Then things went dark. Everything went wrong. I don't want to tangle you into this mess my life is. Linwen remained there, brow furrowed, looking at him. Why? Am I not to your liking? Her voice shook, and Michael closed his eyes. You are beautiful. You are hard-working, and your heart is pure. My fear is dark as the night. No, there is beauty in you. There is light in you. And it's what I like about you. I can see you feel deeply. If you want to leave, I will follow you. You are who I prayed for. Michael wanted to speak, wanted to say harsh words, to reveal who he was, but he couldn't. This wasn't an innocent and easy life, but it was far from the mess that Noldorin had made, the mess his father had started, maybe even his grandfather had started. He wanted to call her silly, a naive little girl, but she wasn't. She was an adult, capable of making her own choices. She was falling in love with him. When he closed his eyes, he saw the stolen moment of Nelio and Finno in embrace, how Elrond and Elros had clung to his legs during a storm, hiding under the crimson cloak, how hard it had been to send them away. I had sons, he said instead. Oh. 2 of them, they were orphans. Where are they? She asked, rubbing his hands with her thumbs, ignoring the soil and bits of hay. We sent them away. Then things went bad. Again. Nelio hurt his head. I tried to keep him alive. I left him to forage for food. Then I heard you. She drew a sharp breath. Is he alive? Did you leave him? That's why you tried to leave so often? He began to sob. I didn't want to lose him. I lost everything, he blubbered, the language he was still only learning barely comprehensible. We must go to him if he is alive. You left him for so long. Can he look after himself? I can look after you both. No, you cannot see him. It's for the best. Connor, you are scaring me. What are you not telling me? He looked into her almost hazel eyes. I cannot tell you. You would never look at me the same way again. She drew back slightly, confused, almost a little hurt. I fell in love with you. I know you are old, you must think of me as an elfling. I do not believe you should forsake someone your heart and fear yearn for, who is meant for you. If you go to him, I will come with you. I want to be with you. I cannot explain it any other way. They were silent for a while, the summer sun warming them through the canopy of leaves. Birds sang and everyday noises were around them. There they knelt, behind her hut, reaping the early crops, the sickles now forgotten. Wed me. Make a blessed Eleth out of me. I will give you more sons, daughters even. I will give you love and understanding until... Don't promise me anything. Don't swear anything. Would you have us wed? You don't know my past, and you should never know it. I am a broken elf. I'm not sure I can even be wed. Now it was her turn to interrupt. She leaned closer, making his eyes flicker down at the low neck of her top, the sun-kissed skin exposed there. You came to me. You were meant to be here, she whispered, and gently kissed his lips. The Valar meant it this way. End of chapter 3. Stay tuned.